everyone, and welcome to Stamp and Chat Live. I'm Gina from Gina K Designs, and it's great to see all of you coming in from all around the world. Tonight we're going to because I have a resource video for you tonight. Tonight we are going to be doing 8 quick tips and tricks for better stenciling. Ways to line up your stencils, some fun techniques that you can do with stencils, and how to stretch your stencils to get a little bit more out of them. Now, I did a video like this last Tuesday night for stamping and die cutting tips and tricks, and you guys seem to enjoy that, so I thought tonight we'd do the same regarding stencils, and hopefully you'll be able to save this video or add it to a playlist, bookmark it, and you'll be able to use it over and over again as a reference when you're stenciling and you kind of want to remember some of the tips and tricks and techniques. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So there won't be any card projects, but you will see some very beautiful panels that you can emulate and then use in your own card making ideas. But before we get started, let's say hello to Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, we matched tonight.
How did that happen?
Oh, yes. You've got the little orange in your shirt.
I do, a little bit.
And that's your favorite color, right?
It is my favorite color. It's bright and sunny. And it's spring out there.
It is.
Around here, anyway.
Tom's been building the garden box, and it's been going so well. I shared a picture on my Instagram stories today, but I'll have to share a picture with you guys once it's all up and running and built, because that's my second favorite hobby. Gardening.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Before you fill it, you don't want to fill it.
I know, but it'll be even more beautiful when those San Marzano tomatoes start coming in. It'll be fantastic.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Well, to all my gardening friends out there, you probably understand my excitement that I'm going to get to do a little outside gardening. And those of you who know me and follow me on other social media outlets know that I do a lot of inside gardening in a hydroponic garden. So this year, we're going outside. Very fun. All right. Do you have a word of the day for later, Tom?
I have a word of the day.
All right. Well, I'm going to need you to help field comments and questions, and then also if you can find a breath in there, because you know how these videos get. Don't let me forget the word of the day, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. Very good.
I will keep vigilance.
And I have my whole list here of things to go over. So let's get started right away, shall we?
Yes, let's shall.
All right, well, the first thing I want to show you is a very easy way to line up your layering stencils. I know that this can be a difficult thing for people, and it's not always easy to figure out like what stencil goes where and how does it all work. And so I'm going to show you 2 different ways to line up your layering stencils very, very easily. Okay, so the first way, let me take out my grip mat here, and let me put in my Misty mouse pad. So this is the Misty mouse pad that you can buy separately from My Sweet Petunia and also from retailers near you. This is a black foam mat on one side, and on the other side it's got a mouse pad that can be easily cleaned. And I love that for when I'm doing stenciling, because if I get ink onto the mouse pad, no big deal, right? Okay, so if you want to use your Misty as a guide for layering up or lining up your layering stencils, this is a really easy way to do it. So I'm just going to use this Sunflower Garden stencil here. Now, most of the Gina K Design stencils, not all of them, but most of them have writing down at the bottom. Let's see if I can get this into the right light here so that you can see it. Can you see that down there where it says Sunflower Garden 1? So for these types of layering stencils where you're layering color on top of color, we do put a number on them, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that you know the order to use them going lightest to darkest. The new Ruffled Blooms embossing folder has layering stencils. There is no markings on those. And that's because it doesn't matter what order you use them in, because nothing layers on top of anything else. Everything is an individual piece. And that's why there isn't any need to have marks on them. So that's why it's like that. But for most of the layering stencils from Gina K Designs, you will find those little markings. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that all of your markings are on the same spot on the stencil, right? And you want to make sure that they are like all down here in the lower left-hand corner. And you want to make sure that you can read them and they're not backwards. And then when you hold them up to the light, you'll be able to see that everything lines up perfectly. When I hold this up to the light here, I can see that everything lines up well. Now these stencils are a 6x6 stencil, but they might be a tiny bit shy of 6x6. See how it's just a little bit smaller? It's not right on the red line. It's a little under the red line. That's okay. What you're going to do is, for this technique, you're going to cut your cardstock to be the exact same size as the stencil. So cut it to be 6x6, even if it's a little bit smaller. That's totally fine. All right, and then this makes it so easy. So all you're going to do is you're going to use the top corner of your MISTI as your guide. Now I'm going to take a little bit of pixie tape just to hold this piece of cardstock in place. I'm not going to use this whole thing. Once I stencil everything, then I'm just going to pop it out and cut it out with either a paper cutter or my die cutting machine in a master layout set. So all you're going to do is tape your paper in here and you're going to pop your first stencil up into that corner. All right. Now, if you want, you can tape this down too so it doesn't shift. That's totally fine if that's what you want to do. It's not necessary. You can also use a magnet if you want, but this is just such an easy way to do this. And you don't have to use the MISTI. You can use other things too. For example, do I have it here? I think I have it in here. Let's see. Let me see if I threw it in here. Maybe not. But the MISTI company makes something called a MISTI corner. And it's just a little L-shaped thing. You can also use your T-square if you want. You can put your T-square somewhere like on a piece of plastic or on a cutting mat. And then you can use that corner of your T-square. You just need a corner. Now, once this is lined up, let me get some blending brushes here and let me get a couple of ink colors. So these are my little ink stands. I don't know if I showed you guys these yet. These are the ones that fit my, the Electropop inks. And we're going to use these tonight because we're going to do some neon stenciling as well. But for this one, I need my regular ink stand. And that just reminds me to say hello, Brianne. I see you out there, and it is great to see you. Thank you for helping everybody find everything. Now, the stencil set that I'm using is Sunflower Garden. And I am going to find a yellow blending brush, and I'm going to ink that up real well with some butterscotch ink. Okay, and then I'm going to go in one direction, like that, and then I'm going to go in the opposite direction, kind of a wax on, wax off motion. One direction and the other direction, clockwise, counterclockwise. And that just easily gets in all the little cracks, the nooks and crannies of this design. And I'm just holding it down here because I'm not using a grip mat or a sticky mat, so I really don't want anything to shift. All right. So there we go. We've got our first color on there. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this off, and we want to make sure that that piece of paper is still up in that corner. And we're going to grab the second stencil. We're going to make sure that that little printing down there where it says Sunflower Garden 2 is in the right place, and we're just going to pop it back into that corner. And you see how that just fit in there perfectly? That's all you have to do. So let's get another color. How about if I use, I'm going to use, in honor of Tom and his orange shirt, I'm going to use some Tangerine Twist. I know it's not the same orange, but it's a nice orange. And so now I'm going to just get in there with the same on and off motion
Joe wants to know, is there a reason you don't leave your grip mat in to stencil?
Well, because the grip mat is not, it's not as easy to work with when you're trying to secure everything doing this particular technique. Otherwise, I would. It's just easier for me to use the Misty mat for this technique. The grip mat, it's not quite the same size. Well, I guess you could do it. But because it's kind of thicker, I just feel more comfortable using the Misty mat in this case. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this off. And you can see perfectly aligned, right? Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now again, I'm just checking down here at the bottom, Sunflower Garden, and I'm going to pop that into place. And then I'm going to go with a bright turquoise color here because our sunflowers do not have to be, they don't have to be what a normal sunflower would be. They can be any colors we want them to be. So I'm going to use some turquoise sea for this. And I'm going to do all these little insides. I just think that's really fun. Probably could use a detail brush here. And I saw somebody say hi to Simon Hurley. Hey, Simon Hurley. You and I have to go live again together soon. Especially with all the stencils and all your new inks and everything, we would have a good time mixing and matching our products together. So we'll have to touch base soon. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay. And did I thank Brienne yet, Tom?
You did.
Well, I'm going to thank her again. Brienne, we love you. All right, she posted a cute little thing today that she's, her business is doing great because she's got such great products. I saw that she, like, shipped out 150 orders or something. Good job, Brienne. She's got all those kiddos. And it's just her and her husband that operate the business. And I believe he works outside of the business, too, so... a lot of stuff going on. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? This is one of my favorite autumn stencils, the Sunflower Garden. And then the very last one, I'm just going to pop in, making sure once again that the wording is down there at the bottom. Just pop it into place. And for this one, I'm going to go with Jelly Bean Green just to add a pop of green to this. And you can see how easy that was to line everything up. I know, isn't the turquoise sea just so fun? I mean, it's not really traditionally a sunflower color, but I don't know, it just feels a little extra autumny when you add that pop of turquoise in there, which again is not really like an autumn color, but it works. I feel like I would love to have my house decorated in all these colors all autumn long. I'm going to do it. And I'm getting a lot of ink like all over the place too, which with this mat, it's very easy to clean. Okay. So there we go. Let's pull that up. And that was super easy to line up, right? I didn't have to like hem and haw about it at all. I would just, as long as it was up in that corner of the Misty, everything lined up just beautifully. Isn't that fun? And these flowers don't have to be autumn flowers, you know. These flowers could be fun summertime daisies or whatever you want them to be. So you could do them in pinks and other colors that would be really more conducive to sun. Okay, so that's one way to achieve this. Now let me clean off this Misty mat. I'm going to use a little bit of alcohol here. And then I'm going to show you the other way to do this same technique, which is super easy. And I am probably going to need my grip mat again for stenciling, but we'll just put this aside. Let me grab my step stool over here that I like to have with me so I can put things close by. All right, so I'm going to grab a piece of cardstock. Now, this technique is for my friends that do not have a stamping platform and do not have a right angle corner. Maybe you've got the Tim Holtz platform and that doesn't have that right angle, so you need a different way to do it. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to once again cut a piece of cardstock down to 6 by 6. All right. Actually, we can cut this smaller. I have smaller ones cut. This one doesn't require you to have a 6 by 6. But you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. Because, you know, I'm thinking on the fly. All right, I'm going to cut this to 6 by 6. But you could do this on any size you want. Okay. So we've got our 6 by 6 piece of cardstock. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a tape runner and we're going to put a little bit of tape runner on the back and we're going to tape this down onto this piece of cardstock here. All right, so this is what I'm working with. Now I'm going to use, maybe I'll use a different set, a different stencil set so I don't have to clean all of this. Let's see. How about if I make a jumbo one? I think this might, well, I don't know. Let me just look here for a second. You know what? I might as well just use this one again. Oh, but there's winter rose. All right, let me use this winter rose. Okay, so down here I've got winter rose 1, 2, and you see I don't see the name on here. So, oh, there it is. So it's down here at the bottom. 3 and 4. All right, so we'll make a winter rose. So we're going to start with winter rose 1, and I'm going to put this, I'm just going to put it, stagger it a little bit off so I can tape the stencil down. Okay. Just going to tape this stencil down exactly where I want it. Now, you're going to take a piece of washi tape or some kind of bright colored tape. And what you're going to do is you are going to make an alignment grid right at the top of your stencil. Like this.
Jessica has a question. How long can you wait to clean the stencils off without it being an issue?
I sometimes like go a full live and then clean them at the end with alcohol and it's not an issue. It depends what you have on the stencil. If you're using like a very kind of like a stainy ink, you might want to clean it a little bit sooner. But if you're using just a dye ink, not a big deal. If you're using stencil pastes and things like that, you might want to just have a bucket of water right there that you can throw them in. Now you see what I'm doing here? I am making one on the other side too. So what I've just done is I've created guides for my stencil to fit in. All right? So now I'm going to stencil this. I'll do turquoise C since it's right here. So we'll start with turquoise C. And I am going to hold this down so it doesn't move. I'm going to do some turquoise. And you can use this same guide for lots of our stencils because all of our stencils are pretty close to the same size. I mean, there's always that, you know, margin of error when it comes to cutting with lasers, but for the most part, all of our stencils are the 6 by 6 size. We have a couple that are different. Okay, so now I'm going to take this off. That was layer 1. Okay, layer 1. Now I'm going to pop on layer 2, and I've got my little guides right here, making sure that the name of the stencil's down here at the bottom. I'm going to slip that right into the spot where my guides are. There we go. And we're going to tape this back down.
Question, can you use the sticky mat to stencil?
Yes, you can. You definitely can. So I'm going to use Tranquil Teal now for this second layer. I'm showing this technique is for my friends who don't have a sticky mat, don't have a grip mat, you know, don't have a MISTI, and they just are kind of working without a net, and they want an easy way to line things up.
And a request from Polly that you please do even more of this type of video, like with embossing folders.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so now we've got layer 2 on there. I can pull that off, and look at how perfect that is. Now we can quickly pop in layer 3. Just, again, making sure that name is there. It's hard to catch it in the light. But we're lining it up with our little alignment grid that we just made at the top, our little alignment tool, which is just 2 pieces of washi tape on each side. And now we're going to move into the greens. So I'll start with Jelly Bean.
Gina K can play the blues.
Play the blues and the greens. All right. So now you have 2 different ways. So let's say you just are taking your stencil somewhere and you really don't want to drag your MISTI. Just pop a little roll of colorful washi tape in your bag and you can make your own little alignment grid. Alrighty. Now we'll pop that off. And then we'll use our very last stencil, and once again, just using these little corners and making sure that the name is in the bottom left-hand corner. We're going to put that right in its place, and everything will line up beautifully. You see, it takes like no finagling at all. Everything is right where it should be. So I'm going to get fresh asparagus for this. And I think I'll get a little brush. I think this is fresh asparagus. I'm going to use a little detail brush for this, just because it's easy to get in there. But you can see how much faster it is than, you know, trying to figure out where things go and just trying to eyeball it. It's so much easier when you just use the benefit of the stencil and those right angles to line everything up. There we go. And there, that is finished. So now we've got this one, and we can just pull this up and we can cut this down using a master layouts die. We can cut this one down using a master layouts die. And we've got 2 cards ready to go. Just pop a big greeting on there and you see how easy that is? Okay. All right, so that is 2 quick ways to line up your stencils. Now let me find my little cheat sheet of all the things I want to show you, and I'll keep these close by. Okay, so now let's talk about the double stencil technique. And again, I know I've done these techniques before, but I think it's like fun to actually have everything all in one place. So here's where I can use either my grip mat or I can use my sticky mat. I've got a sticky mat here. Either one of these will work beautifully with stenciling. Maybe I'll just use my sticky mat for this one. Okay, so for the double stencil technique, you're going to take a piece of cardstock and you're going to place it onto your sticky mat or your grit mat. Now, for this technique, I think I'm going to use the new Frangipani. This is a plumeria flower, and it's just a 2-layer stencil, but we have a big open one, and then we've got a little bit of a detail one, and we do want to make sure that the words are in the right place. So I'm going to start with this big one. I'm going to put this down here, and I think I'll do this with some blues too. My sticky mat's not quite as sticky. You know, I'm going to use my grippy mat because it is very grippy. My sticky mat, the sticky mat is a more consumable product. So after about 1,001 uses, it's ready to possibly get a new one. And I think mine is because I have been stenciling nonstop. But the grip mat is nice because, you know, the stencil will stick right to the grip mat like that. All right, so let's go once again with, let's do turquoise sea again. And I am going to just clean this brush a little bit just by rubbing some of that tranquil teal off of this. All right. So I'm going to ink this up with some turquoise sea, and I'm going to lightly add some color onto this frangipani flower. This is a tropical flower, and the first time that I heard about the frangipani flower was when Tom and I were living in Bermuda for a little while playing music. And we would pass a perfumery on our way home from work. We played at this little club in downtown Hamilton, and we would take little mopeds back to the house that we lived in. And we would pass the perfumery at night, and all the frangipani flowers, they just like cast their scent at night. It was pretty amazing. Absolutely the most beautiful smell I've ever smelled. Okay, so now I'm going to use this roundabout, is that what this is called? Roundabout stencil. And I'm going to add a little bit of detail on each of these flowers. All right, and I'm going to do that with the tranquil teal. So I'm going to, these are great for flowers because they kind of are shaped like flowers. So if you have any forward-facing flowers, it works great for that. So I'm going to pop that right in the center here of this flower. I'm going to get a little bit of tranquil teal on my brush, and then I'm going to add some color, but I'm not going to go real far up. Just enough to add a little bit of a design into that flower. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a Post-it note, and I'm just going to block off this right here and this right here. I'm not like being very careful with it. Just blocking enough off that it's not going to totally overlap. And then I'm going to pop that one right where the center of that flower would be and do kind of the same thing here, giving it a little bit of double stencil. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to block this off, and I'm going to block this flower off like that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of double stenciling on this one, just so it hits those petals, the outside petals. So you can see what's happening. Going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to block this, and I'm going to block this right here. And then if you need a couple other Post-it notes to block a few other things, just kind of look at what's under there. I don't want that petal, so I'm going to block that. And I don't want that petal, so I'm going to block that. Post-it notes are great for these fast masking techniques. And then this would be like the center of the flower. I'm going to add a little bit of that fun detail. Pull these off, and then I've got one more down here at the bottom. Isn't this fun? So easy to do. Quick Post-it note here. Quick Post-it note here. And you see this? I really don't want to catch this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pair of scissors here, and I'm just going to cut like a little kind of a little arc there. It's not perfect, but I'm not going all the way over the whole flower. I'm just focusing more in the center of the flower. So that doesn't even matter there. It's not going to be a big deal. And then I'm going to add a little bit of it right in here, like that. Now, that is all I want to do. I don't even want to use the second layer of this stencil because look how pretty this is going to look. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. That is just enough, right? And that double stencil just gives it a little bit of pizzazz. Now, if you want to add more double stenciling to this one, like if you wanted to come down on this petal, you can always replace everything, right? You can always put this back on here and line it up. And then you can take this one again and you can line it up. Find that spot. And then you could come down into this just a little bit more if you needed a little bit more there. Like that. Now I want to show you another little technique. I've got a stencil that I just love and it is called, let me see if I can find it. Oh gosh, is it not here? Maybe it's back here somewhere. It's called Nature's something or other. If I can't find it, I might make Tom go get me one. But you know what? I don't even need that. Let's just do something else. I am going to look under flowers, though, and see if I put it. Because I've got all my things filed here, and then I don't always put everything back where they should go. So let's just find another layering stencil that has some leaves. Because you could do this with anything. All right, here's the Dazzling Dahlia flower. This is a beautiful stencil. I'm just going to grab the leaf stencil out of it. And then I am going to just place that leaf right there. Now, this may not be a frangipani leaf. I don't know if frangipanis even have leaves. I think they do, but I don't know what they look like. And I don't even care. I'm just going to add a little bit of any leaf here to just add a little greenery to this layering stencil. See that? And you can do that with pretty much like any of your stencils. Just look through your stencils. You're going to have a leaf that's going to fit. You're going to have something where you can add a little greenery around it.
You mean those stencils weren't made for each other?
No.
Whoa.
I know, right? Just find a spot on the stencil that works. And this is the Dazzling Dahlia. Is that what it's called? Dazzling Dahlia. So, you know, you definitely can find little spots that work. Now, that's a little far apart if I was designing that, but nobody's going to know. It looks great. Same over here. Let's see. We'll find one. We'll find a spot. It doesn't have to be perfect. Here's one that's absolutely not perfect, but we're going to use it anyway, just to show you that it still looks really cute, even when it's not perfect. You just need a little something in there, a little greenery going around. Especially because this is no longer a frangipani. This is, I don't know what it is, but it's fun. But it's not a frangipani anymore.
It's a Maserati now.
Maserati flower. So there you go. You can see how you can just like mix and match things. I'm just making piles of stencils to clean for later. But you can mix and match things. And then like for this, rather than worrying about that center, although there is a nice little center star that you could use, I might be more tempted to do something like put some mermaid scale sequins. These are so pretty. Look at the color in that blue and green color. I would take a couple of the real big mermaid scales and just put them in the couple of spots that have openings just to jazz it up a little bit. And that's really all you need to do. And then a nice big greeting across the open spaces. So isn't that fun? That's double stenciling and mixing and matching stencils that don't belong together. So that's a little bonus tip. And again, just like cut it out so that It works for your paper. And you know, I don't have tons of greetings here, but I have my little bag of tricks. Let me just pull something out of this bag of things that I cut out. You know, when you have an empty space like that, you could just fit that in there and you could cut that off right there and make it an A2 card. So you see how easy that is? These cards are so easy. These panels are so easy to turn into cards. You barely have to do anything. All they really need is a greeting. So, all right, so that is another technique, double stenciling, and that's a little bonus technique, adding flowers from a different stencil to add a little greenery. Okay. All right, let's see what's next. Ooh, reverse stenciling. Okay, so this is one of my all-time favorite techniques. The first time I saw this done, actually, it was my daughter Rena who did it. She did it in an old video, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago now. It's been a while. And when I saw it, I was blown away. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I've made a couple videos using it as well. I'm getting so inky. So I'm going to use neon inks for this because I think neon inks are super fun. And they really, really make a difference. Oh, I do have a little brand new sticky mat here. They gave it to me because the top sheet was crinkled, so I got to have it. Yay, I get all the rejects, but it works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut a piece of cardstock down just a little bit. I don't think I need quite this much. I'm going to cut it down to like 4 1/4 by... I think I'll cut it to 4 by 5 1/4. There we go. Okay. And remember, if some of these techniques are going by quickly, this video is a resource for you. You can come back and watch it over and over and over again. So I'm going to pop this here on my sticky mat. And I like to use all the mats too, and all the different options when I'm making these videos, because not everybody has everything, and I want to show you that you definitely can use other things than the exact grip mat or the exact sticky mat that I'm using. So here are my neon brushes. I do have some neon brushes, and here are the neon inks. Now sometimes the neon brushes can get crispy because this ink is much more highly pigmented than some of our other inks. So I might have to clean them a little bit. We'll see. I'll add a little bit of alcohol here. And this is the way I like to clean my brushes, just to get them soft again. Just a tiny little bit of alcohol and just rub the bristles over them, and then rub it onto the dry spot on the paper towel. It does freshen up your brushes, especially if you're using any kind of inks that have a slight bit of pigment in them, like the neon inks, maybe like Distress Oxides. Sometimes they just get crunchy, and we need to clean them up. And that's an easy way to do it, and you don't have to wait too long because your brush dries pretty quickly with that little alcohol, because alcohol evaporates really quickly.
Judy is asking, would you ever show what you do with leftover pieces that you have cut off to make a card?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could do that. I'll think about doing that. Sometimes I throw them away after the live because they collect, but I'll start keeping them so that I have some materials to use. Okay, so I'm going to use some of this Raging Red ink, and I'm going to start doing a little bit of ink blending down this piece of cardstock. And I'm going to make kind of like a rainbow. I don't know if I'll make a full rainbow. It really depends on how far down I get on this piece of cardstock. But look how vibrant that red is. Isn't that gorgeous? This is such a vibrant red. Okay. So now we're going to go with Orange Glow. That's my next color, Orange Glow. And you'll find on our labels that these are all white. And it's because we can't print neon. So what I did was I just took my blending brush and I just blended the ink color over the label before I put them on. I did it to all of them. So if you're looking for these labels, they're going to be white on the sheet. All right, so now we're going to go with the orange. Again, I'm just going to brush off a little bit of that color to make it a little less crunchy. Okay. And now I'm going to ink it up real well with some orange glow. Oh, the wedding, it's 1 year from now. So it's May, the end of May 2026. That's when the wedding is. We're very excited. We're doing a family meeting this Sunday about the wedding. We get to meet with Brian's parents and Rena and Brian, and we're gonna have our wedding kind of sit down and talk about all the details. So that's going to be very fun. All right, so now I've got the orange in there. Now I'm going to go to Hello Yellow. Look at that. That's like fluorescent yellow. That's so beautiful.
This looks amazing.
You like this, Tom?
I could look at that for an hour.
I know. It's so bright and fun. This brush is crunchy. Let's see if I can get some. I haven't used the neons in a while.
Okay, here's a question from Jelly. I tend to be too aggressive when I am using stencils, so I use some pixie spray on the finer points. How do I get the pixie spray off? I've tried alcohol and goo be gone. Nothing is working.
Yeah. Pixie spray is kind of permanent. It's hard to get off your stencils. But that's okay because it won't hurt your stencils and it shouldn't hurt your ink blending. But that is one of those products that once it's on your stencil, it becomes very difficult to get it off. So I don't have a good solution for that. I mean, all the things that you mentioned is what I would say to try. Like try alcohol, try scrubbing it with, you could try a magic eraser, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and see if that helps a little bit. I'm going to add a little more orange into here just to remove that little bit of line of demarcation.
Belt sander?
A belt sander. Yeah. Okay, now I am going to skip Loud Lime. I'm going to go right to Screamin' Green. I like Loud Lime, and I've used Loud Lime quite a bit, but I'm running out of space, so I've got to get a green and I got to get the blue in there at least. So we're going to clean that a little bit. But don't worry, I mean, I've got stencils that are covered in pixie spray, and they work just great. I mean, they're still totally fine. So I know it's disheartening if you like everything to be just a certain way. I know that's hard, and there are people that really do prefer their stuff to be completely cleaned off when they're done. But I think stencils sometimes do get a little stainy and messy. All right, so Screamin' Green coming across. Screaming across the card. Isn't this color fun? Now I'm going to make a little Loud Lime here, just going back to that yellow. I'm going to just, whatever's left on that yellow brush, I'm going to blend it into that Screamin' Green a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go to the Blaring Blue to put it nice in my beautiful Electropop ink stand here by the Ink Stand Shop. Okay, now we'll get some blue. I know everybody's gonna need sunglasses, but isn't it fun? Get the blue. I've had these neons for quite a while. Simon Hurley and I did a fun video together using, these are my daughter Rena's creation here, and we used Rena's neon inks and Simon Hurley's neon lunar paste. It was so fun.
Natalie asked, do you use separate brushes for neon inks?
I do. I have a separate set of brushes for the neon inks. These are just so vibrant. Look at those. They're so vibrant. Look at that pink. And I just hate to like, I don't want to contaminate my dye inks with any of the neon stuff that's in these inks. And I just like to keep them separate because it just keeps them so nice. So, and if you do a lot of neon inking, it's nice because these colors, you can see how vibrant these colors are. They are super, super loud. Okay, so now we've got our rainbow here. So now we're going to pick a stencil that has a solid design. And what I mean solid design is, I mean, if you were to ink this up, all these flowers would be white when you pulled the stencil off because the color would be falling in between. So we want to find a stencil like this. This one's a good one. These butterflies, right? Because all the butterflies would end up being white and just the color would be trickling through all of that. So I'm going to use this daisy chain stencil and I'm going to put this down on top of this piece of cardstock. Now here's where the reverse stenciling concept comes into play. So now what we're going to do, and this is going to be scary for some people, and I feel you, we're going to take a black ink pad and we're going to take a black blending brush and we are going to ink all over this entire stencil.
And darkness spread across the land.
Yes, here it
the
comes.
The beautiful, idyllic paradise of light becomes darkness.
Yep, exactly right. So we're going over the whole thing with black. Now people have asked me, can you do this with other colors?
Welcome to the desert.
To the dark side. So people have asked me, can you do this with other colors? And I mean, you can. Like you could maybe do navy, a real dark navy, a really super dark brown. But in my opinion, nothing looks like the black. So I would highly recommend going with the black.
Nothing compares to hue.
You're on a roll tonight. I love it. Okay, I'm going to do something here so that I don't get black all over my fingers. I'm just going to put this paper towel down and I'm going to hold it that way. So this way I don't end up getting black all over my hands. And remember, we're going to cut this down to make a card, right? We wouldn't have to use it this way. So if the edges aren't perfect, that's okay. We're going to trim it. Okay. So now we've got our black background there. And now the magic happens. Ready? Here we go. The peel is amazing. So I'm going to get it right in the camera here. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That
wow.
Vibrant neon rainbow blend is just so fun and so pretty. This is the perfect stencil, but look through your stash because you probably have other stencils that will work equally as well as this one. And that is the reverse stencil technique. So you're doing the reverse image. Now there's no white left behind, right? All right. So now that is ready to be cut out with a master layouts panel or with a paper cutter. Cut it into strips and use it on a fun card. Okay, so now let me just clean up my sticky mat. I know, the lights. Now this will stain my sticky mat. I'm just cleaning it with water and this sticky mat is now stained neon, but I don't care. As long as it's still sticky, it'll work great. And you just don't want to use a paper towel to wipe this because the paper towel will stick to it and it's really hard to get off. It becomes quite a mess. So just use a tidy towel, something that's not going to leave any lint behind to clean it, and it'll be good to go. All right, so we did lining up our stencils 2 ways. We did, oh, here's a fun one. how to make a stencil work when you've got a bigger piece of cardstock than you have stencil. All right. So I don't know what to call that. Expanding your stencil, extending your stencil. Here is a piece of 5.5 by 5.5 cardstock. And here is a beautiful stencil called Decorative Double. Now I love this stencil, but if I wanted this to cover this whole card, I'm kind of stuck here, right? This works beautifully when it comes to any kind of design that is very symmetrical. So something like this, the mermaid scales, let's see, the ornamental fans, you know, just some of these very, very symmetrical designs. I think Art Deco would be perfect. I don't know if I have that one. Here it is. Art Deco, you know, trying to get it somewhere where you can see it, not over the white here. Anything that is very symmetrical, this technique will work with, okay? So I'm going to line this up toward the edge here. And I'm going to pick kind of a softer color here for this. I'm going to pick, light spruce. That's medium spruce, but it's not because I put the wrong lid on. So let me switch those lids before I have an accident. So this is medium and this is light. So I'm going to use light spruce. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start over here, and when I get to about here, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. Okay. Did you just put a word up, Tom? That's good. I like that. Yes. All right, so I am inking this up. There we go. Now this only gives me a few inches across. Doesn't give me the full card that I want here for this background. So I'm just going to go to about there. Now I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to line it up right here like that. Now I can continue on. Did you see that? You want to line it up, and if you need to tape it down, if you feel more comfortable taping it down, it's kind of a big piece of cardstock, but you can continue on.
Apologies to any questions I missed. They're going by so fast, so many.
I know. These are definitely good technique videos, and they do lend themselves to a lot of questions. Okay, so now I've moved over. Now I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to line that up on a part that's already stenciled, and I'm going to continue on. So now any of these smaller stencils that you have that aren't going to fit on your big 5x7 card that you want to make, and you want to do a full background, maybe even want to do this across a whole scrapbook page, you certainly can. You can also move down. It'll move down evenly as well. Okay, and I can finish that off just by finding a spot right there, and I can finish off the end. Go down here because I had it up too high. There we go. And so now I've got that whole page covered just with this one little stencil. And if you have any areas that are a little lighter than other areas, it's not a problem. It's very easy to line this back up anywhere. And you can fill in areas that you feel might be too light. You know, if you're trying to get more consistent color between them.
Have you ever put the neon inks under a black light to see what happens?
I have, and nothing happens. It's very disappointing. But
they're missing that ingredient.
Yeah, whatever that is. So there you go. So that's another technique for you. So it allows you to cover your entire larger piece of cardstock using any size stencil as long as it's a more symmetrical pattern. Now, I know that you've seen me do where I've extended flowers. You know, I did the flower design and then I used a flower to come in on this side and a flower up here and a little part of the leaf and stuff. But I wanted to show you the pattern because I know a lot of you, this is like a great, you know how we were making our own pattern papers? This is a great one as a pattern paper. You can also soften the whole look of this by just going over it again with the same exact color. You can soften the white a little bit. See how I'm just like kind of softening up that white just by using the brush without reloading it. And if you want to reload it, you certainly can. You could put a little more ink in there to kind of soften it up. So one side is a little more white. This is a little bit more subdued if you don't want to have any white showing. But that's another thing that's kind of fun to go back over and just kind of calm down the whiteness that's left behind. It makes it look a little more like pattern paper because a lot of times pattern papers also have a soft colored background. So there we go. All right, so that's another technique. Now let me clean up this mess because you know I'm gonna be wearing all this ink all over me if I don't clean it up. And let's see what else we have on the docket. I know I've got a bunch of things here because I was thinking if we had a little extra time I would show you a couple extra little things. Okay, so pastes and gels. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to use the ruffled blooms and I'm going to show you how beautiful the Glitz Glitter Gel, or in this case, I don't have any Glitz Glitter Gel. I'm out of my glitter gel and I didn't have time when I decided to do this video to order any more jars. You know, Thermoweb is discontinuing the Glitz Glitter Gel. But they also have another line that they did with another designer, and her name is Jennifer Long, and they have the sparkle paste in these small jars that you can get over at Thermoweb's site. And I'll put my affiliate link in the description for Thermoweb if you want to go and buy any of these little gels while they still have them. I think right now they have all the colors, but these are really fun. And they did a really good job with her line of protecting the stuff on the inside. So when you get these, they will not be dried out at all. They're really beautiful, and the sparkle is incredible. So, you know, I mean, to watch me do the whole thing, I'm going to do the whole thing, but then on the second, I have another technique I want to show you. I'm not going to do the whole thing. This way you can kind of see the way I do this, but you don't have to sit through it twice. So let me find those stencils. I know they're in here.
Question from Diane.
Yes.
Is there a way to emboss when the folder is smaller than the cardstock?
That would have to be another day for me where I would have to experiment with a few things and see if I could do that. There probably is. The problem is that when you run it through with the plate, the parts that are already embossed could squish down a little bit, so it might not be as optimal as you would think. But I could give that a try and look into it and see if I can do something with it. Okay, so now these are the stencils that came in the Ruffled Blooms set. Now these are not numbered and they don't have a name on them. So you do have to like fidget with them a little bit until they turn into a flower. You see how that turned into a flower? It didn't look like a flower here, but when you get them in the right direction, they turn into a flower. And then you can kind of find the spot on here, like that. You start to be able to see how that looks. And then this goes here. And I'm just going to hold it up to the light to make sure that's right. Now this one you do not need to use unless it's all you want to use. And this is more for adding wax, metallic wax, texture paste, gold, silver ink, white ink over the embossed image. So, for example, on this card here, see how I did these all in white? If you just wanted to add texture paste or something over that entire thing, you wouldn't need to have all the different little layers. You would just have something like this, so you could put this right on top and just block out everything else and just go ahead and add your texture paste, or here I use Delicata Gold ink, right? So that's the only time you really need this layer. Otherwise, you don't need it. You can put it away for those times that you do. When you're actually doing coloring, you just need the 4 layers. And because none of these overlap in any way, they don't have to be marked. But one thing that you can do is you can take, and I don't know if I have one here, but let's see. You can take something like a Sharpie. This is a Spectrum Noir marker. I just want to find something with like a chisel end. And you could just pick whatever is 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't really matter, but you could just put a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 like that on your stencils. Then that's going to help you because you're going to know that all the numbers have to be in the same spot. And once all the numbers are in the same spot, then you know you have them lined up properly. You know they're facing in the right direction to coordinate with the embossing folder, and you are ready to go. If you wanted to do them on the opposite side, you certainly could, but then you would know I got to have them all on the opposite side. Now, the one thing I will tell you about the Sharpie is as soon as you use some rubbing alcohol to clean this, it's going to take off your Sharpie too. So what some people like to do is they like to use something like a Dymo printer, and not a Dymo printer, a Brother, P-Touch, whatever they are, labeler, and make a tiny little label that says 1 and put it up in the corner. These are not really affected by alcohol. Some alcohol on my finger. They're not really affected because it's a thermal printer. So you could make little stickers if you wanted, okay? But this is the right way that these all go together. Okay, so I am going to take a piece of cardstock here. I've got a 5.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock, and I'm going to start with what we called layer 1. I'm going to lay this on top. I think this is layer 1. Yeah, this is layer 1. I have this right. And I'm just going to press that into place, and I'm going to use Red Hot. So I'm going to use some Red Hot on this layer. Okay. Let me get my Red Hot brush. My red brush, and we're going to add some red to these flowers. So same thing, I'm going to do a little in one direction and then the other direction. And this I'm just stenciling. I'm not going to emboss. I'm not going to use a stamp. I'm not going to use anything. I'm only using the stencil because this video is about stenciling, and you can get a gorgeous look just using these stencils. And it takes this whole, this whole bundle up a notch. Now I know this kit is out of stock, and it's upsetting a lot of people because people didn't think they were going to like it, and then they started seeing all the cards, and now everybody kind of likes it. We have a handful of these that are going to be available on release night, which is going to be June 17th. We don't have a ton, and they do take a while to manufacture. So, if you want this, I would be on the website a few minutes before 7. And grab it if you want it, because they are going to be very limited and they will take a while to come back. Okay, so I have this one done. Now I'm going to go to layer 2, and I'm going to put this layer 2 aside. All right, we're going to do layer 2 last. And that's the beauty of this. It doesn't matter what order you do these in. Now my next layer is going to be layer 3. And for this layer, I am going to do some butterscotch ink and some jelly bean green. So let me get the butterscotch. Got the butterscotch pad here. And I know that's upside down, but that's okay. We all know what it is. All right, I'll fix it for my people that don't like that. There we go. I'm going to use a small blending brush instead of a large blending brush, but I don't need a detail brush because I do want this to be a little bit more shady. So I'm going to do a little bit this way and a little bit that way. Okay. There we go. I've got the butterscotch on there. Now I am going to use a detail blending brush with a little bit of that fresh asparagus ink. Did I put that back? Where did that go? Oh, here it is. And I'm going to do the stems. So I'm going to hold this in place. I'm just going to add the stems here with the fresh asparagus. And they don't run into those butterscotch areas, so you're okay having two different colors on this layer. I'm going to be using the fresh asparagus again in a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to pull this off. Now, we're going to use layer 4. Put layer 4 in here. I'm going to line up those flower centers. There we go. Now, I'm going to use some of the Red Hot again. And I'm going to get a tiny brush. And I'm going to put Red Hot in the center of these flowers. And believe it or not, then after I'm done getting the red in the center of these flowers, I am going to add a little green to the center of the flowers. Now I know that sounds like ew, but I kind of want them to be a little bit brown, but I don't want them to be so brown that they look brown. I want them to be almost like a little brick red. So I can do that easily with just being messy with my jelly bean green. So we'll start with the jelly bean green. And I'm going to add that. Let me reposition that. There we go. That looks pretty good. Do the jelly bean green in both directions. And then I'm going to make a big mess with my stencil. And I don't even have any water in here, so that was probably not a good idea to not have water in here. But I'll clean it the best that I can. Okay.
You want water?
Well, I need a whole bowl of water, and I don't have a bowl, so...
I have a bowl.
You do? Mm-hmm. A big bowl? It's got a stencil to fit in. Okay, so now I went over that, and you see how that just kind of changed the center to a little bit more of a brick red? Now I'm leaving this here, and then what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to add a little fresh asparagus just at the bottom of each of these leaves. So let's just reposition the leaves. Okay, so a little bit here. Just because there isn't any detail in these leaves, because the detail is in the stamp set and also in the embossing folder. But again, I don't think that that's terrible. I think it's just a nice graphic look. And I've done other stencils this way, where when we were making our own pattern paper and ephemera, I did some kind of ephemera like this, where I didn't use the coordinating stamp and I just did it this way, and it kind of felt a little bit more like ephemera, less detailed. All right, so there we've got our, I'm going to add a little bit more to this leaf right here. There we go. Okay. So now we've got all the layers except one. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to add some red glitter paste. So this is the Heat and Bond. This is by Thermoweb. It's called Sparkle Paste. It's Jennifer Long's brand. She is actually in their fabric division, but this works great on paper too. So I'm going to place this right here, like this. Now, I want to be safe. Better safe than sorry. I know I'm on a sticky mat, but I am going to just put a little bit of pixie tape down just so it doesn't move. And now I'm going to use this bright red. Let's see, does it have a color name on it? This one does not have a color name, but I mean, it's the only red, so you would be able to find that. It's very similar to the Glitz Glitter Gel. And I'm going to put this right over this stencil, and this is going to be my final layer. And this is beautiful. Yeah, this, I believe the reason why they can't do this right now, because we were going to do a whole line of these smaller ones together, it's because it comes from Europe, and it's too expensive right now for them to be able to do it. They're just not going to be able to. So that's why my glitz is getting the boot. But it's okay. It's all right. We have other fun things coming with Thermoweb, so I understand it's not easy right now. So we give grace, right? We give grace. Okay. So now we've got all of that beautiful, it looks like a mess, but when I take it off, you're going to see how beautiful it is. It's like, isn't it gorgeous? And always make sure that there's no glitz or glitter paste or anything on the edge of your jar before you close it, or else it might not be that easy for you to take off next time. All right, here we go. I'm going to pull this off. Oh, look at how beautiful that is. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, I did one earlier because the thing about the glitter gel, this kind of glitter product, is, and I'm going to try to get this off real quick. So let me see if I can spray this down with some water. I don't even think I have water in here, but I'll use alcohol. I just want to try to keep it loose. It looks like a murder scene, Sue. I know, right? It certainly does look like a murder scene. But let's just clean as much off as we can, and then I will worry about it later. I'll scrub it real well with, look at that. That's pretty too, right? It's all pretty. I just wanted to get the bulk of it off. And it'll come very clean again. I just have to scrub it a little bit. And if I put it in water right now, it would keep it nice and soft and make it very manageable. But I forgot that I was doing these techniques, and usually I bring a big Tupperware bowl of water home. I mean, to work. I don't bring the water, but I bring the Tupperware bowl, and I can just throw this in and it keeps it nice and wet, but that's pretty good. That's good enough. Okay. Now I want to show you the one I did earlier because you can see here, I mean, the glitter paste is absolutely beautiful on there, but when it dries, it gets more sparkly. Can you see that? When it dries, see the sparkle in it? Where when it's wet, it's pretty, but it doesn't have that same level of shine as when it dries. So I wanted to do one earlier for you so that you could really see the effect of that. And so this technique is just using a paste or a gel or, you know, whatever kind of medium you have just on that final layer. Ooh, you have water for me? Can you? I'll stick it in there. Tom brought me a flower vase, so I just curled it over. So that is just a beautiful look. Just using one layer of your layering stencil using some glittery kind of paste or gel. I think that's spectacular. Okay, so now the next technique I want to show you, I got more. I did the same exact technique here. Same exact technique. The colors that I used were light lilac and, what was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Powder blue, light lilac, and butterscotch. They were the colors that I used. And when I turn this, you're going to see the shine, maybe a little bit. There, you can probably see it over here a little bit. I used fuse foiling gel. So now what I want to do with this one, I had to do this earlier because I had to let it dry completely. The technique is exactly the same as this one. It's just instead of spreading that glitter gel on, you spread the fuse foiling gel on instead. And now what I want to do is I want to foil this using my fuse foiling machine, and I want to do that with some of this brilliant blue foil. This foil is spectacular. And as you turn this foil into the light, it's got the blue, it's got a little bit of wisteria and lilac in it, and it's a spectacular foil. So I wanted to try this with this technique, and we're trying it together live because I'm crazy. I hope it works. Okay, so once your fuse foiling gel dries, you can take a Swiffer duster and you can dust. Now you may notice that I have a little bit of glitz in there because I had a little bit of glitz left over on my spatula when I reached into the fuse foiling gel. So there's a little glitz on there. So if we get a little extra sparkle, that is courtesy of the sparkle paste. Okay, so now while this is getting hot enough, I'm setting it on 3. I'm going to use some of this brilliant blue foil, and I have a little piece here. I want to see if this is going to be big enough to cover everything. No, I think I need a little bit more. Oh no, that'll work. That covers everything. Okay, so we're going to use this piece right here. And I'm afraid to move it now because I have it in the perfect spot. So I think I'm just going to forego the dusting of the back. And I'm going to put this right into my carrier sheet. And for those of you who love foiling, this is a fun way to use your stencils by just using one layer. Let me make sure I have this completely covered. I do. Okay. And here we go. Let's hope for the best. We're doing it together. All right, here we go. So I used the same green colors on this. I used jelly bean green. I used fresh asparagus for the details. And then for the flowers itself, I used powder blue, light lilac, and butterscotch. And so now this is going through, and it's looking like it's going to look pretty good. So this is a totally different look. It's still glitter. It's a glitter look because this is a glitter foil. So it's going to be really pretty. But it's going to be a little more rustic, where on this one, all of the glitter is completely flat. When you're using the fuse foiling gel, sometimes you get some of those little stroke marks in there, and it looks a little bit more rustic. All right, so let's just make sure this is completely cool. Okay, you guys ready? Let's do it together. All right, hoping for the best. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? See, you've got all that beautiful glitter, and then you've got that foil shine when you turn it sideways like that. Look at that. So that's another way for you to use your layering stencils, by choosing just one layer and adding fuse foiling gel to the mix, and then just foiling that final layer. And what's really fun about this, like in the center here, you could pop a enamel dot. If you had a glitter dot, you could pop a sequin in there. You could pop one of these metallic pearls in the center, like a silver metallic pearl. Or you could make your own embellishments using foil and just use a paper punch or something that makes little circles. So I don't know, you know, when I first did this one earlier today, I'm like, oh, nothing is going to be as beautiful as that. But now, I don't know. These two, they're very, 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 very close in the running for my favorite, right? Okay. So let's see. Let's see what's left on my list here. Oh, I know. One more little thing I wanted to show you that's really cute. Okay, I've got two things I want to show you. So one thing that I can show you is how to trying to decide what to use to show you this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of these big flowers that's just a plain flower. So a lot of our flowers are layered flowers, but we do have some flowers that are not layering flowers at all. They're just big, bold, plain flowers. So let me find one of those. Okay, so this one is a great one as an example. It is called Floral. That was one of my very first stencils that I came out with. And I really believed at the time that I was going to have like 4 stencils in our collection. So I literally named this flower Floral, as if it would be the only one. I've learned so much since then. So I'm going to put a piece of cardstock here. I'm going to trim this down a little bit to make it a little bit easier. And this is something else that you definitely should try with your stenciled designs. Okay, so I'm going to do this in some turquoise sea. Let's find that turquoise brush. And the reason I'm doing this in turquoise is because I can actually do the leaves green and I can do the flowers blue. And it's okay if some of that blue bleeds into the green, because blue and green are so pretty together, so it doesn't even really matter. And it's just going to look like a pretty fade. All right, so now I'm going to switch to Jelly Bean and add a little bit of green to this. And I don't even care that there's turquoise on the stencil itself. It'll just give my blend a little bit of a better blend. And this is one of those really pretty stencils that you can use like with a rainbow fade, and it'll just be beautiful. I'm going to go back with that turquoise brush and add a little more turquoise right around the perimeter here, just so it's not too green. Okay, so there we go. And that's very pretty, very simple stencil design. Now I want to show you, and I don't know if you guys knew that you could do this, but you certainly can. You don't have to only do this with stamps. So let me find what I'm looking for here. Find a colored pencil that I want to use. Let's see what this one looks like. I know I'm coloring right on there, but that's okay. I am going to sharpen this just a little bit. Now you can do the same kind of technique that you would do with a stamp. This is called Floral, this stencil. You can do the same kind of technique that you would with a stamp, but you can do it on a stencil. You can do the Gamsol technique. So I'm going to just add a little bit of color right here, a little bit of color here. And I'm just coloring right to the edge of the line, almost like there was, you know, a line there, like a black line, but there isn't. So I'm just going to add a little bit here. this. And the pencil that I'm using is Cobalt Turquoise. So I'm sorry if my head's in the way. But this is a fun way to create a lot more depth. And it also gives you a little more texture because colored pencil and Gamsol has more texture than the smoothness of the ink blending. You know, we love the smoothness of the ink blending, but sometimes you want a little texture. And it's kind of hard to achieve that with just the ink blending. So you can add a little bit of colored pencil. And then we'll get some Gamsol and we'll quick blend this out. And then I promise I only have one more technique to show you. And then I'll let you go to bed. But don't go to bed yet because it's cute and it's fun. And it's something you're going to want to try. Okay. Let me just do a couple more here. I mean, I might as well finish this one flower just so that you can get the full effect. Doesn't take much. But if you remember, I did a video a while back where I was stenciling inside a stamp, and I told you to use a black pencil down near the bottom, and it creates such a gorgeous look. So because this doesn't have a stamp, and I know that it would look good with black. It would. But because this doesn't have a stamp, I'm not going to use black today. I'm just going to use a darker version of this blue. Okay. So now I've added a little bit of depth there. Now that's kind of stencil-y looking, right? It's like kind of the way we do our layering stencils. But let's get a blending stump. I'm going to clean this blending stump because it's got some black on it. So I'm just using a little sandpaper thing here. You can also use a nail file if you don't have one of these. You can pick these up at art stores. But again, like an emery board will work too. So, all right, so let's turn this way. There's a little Gamsol in here. I thought I bought a new bottle of Gamsol, but I bet it's sitting at home. I need a new bottle. And I'm just going to work that color up and blend that out. See how pretty that's starting to look? And this is old Gamsol that hasn't been covered. And actually, Gamsol does kind of get old if it sits out. You should keep it covered. That's why it's so squeaky. But can you see what's happening? How pretty that looks? It's blending so pretty. So don't be afraid to treat your stencils the way you would your stamps and do some of this fun blending. It's very easy to do, and it really changes the look of it completely. I don't know if I went outside of the lines there. I think I might have. But that's all right. See how pretty that's getting? Gamsol's a real winner for those of us who, you know, haven't put a lot of time into learning about blending and all of that. It just gives you that cool texture. Love it. And to me, it looks different than ink blending because I see the texture from the wax. You know, it's not perfectly smooth the way ink normally is.
Might be a good time to sneak in a word of the day.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll finish this while you're doing your word of the day so they can get the full look.
The full look. All right. Today's word of the day. So there's an area of bone in your leg, midway between the knee and the ankle. And I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about. That if you accelerate this bone and whack it against something really hard with the velocity of like a bat hitting a home run.
Yes.
The stars and the light that you see and the words that you speak and the things that come to mind are so vivid and so loud and so amazing. I'm serious. I think I learned to speak fluent Italian for 5 minutes after that happens to me. And that's called, of course, a shinspiration. Shinspiration, word of the day. Here I go. Back to the dead space. Back to Gina.
That's a very good word of the day. I love that. We all felt it too, Tom. We all just went, oh, yeah. The shin whack on the side of the table, right? Shinspiration. I'm shinspired. All right. So here we go. You can see how pretty that looks. Blended that color out from the center. It's got a lot of texture in there, so it looks a little bit different than ink blending. And you can see the difference between this flower and this flower, how much more depth something like that has. So these are just fun ways to stretch your supplies. Now you can always go back and add one more technique to this. You definitely need a very sharp point for this, but you can go back in. Let's see if I can do it up close. But you can go back in. I'm going to go real close here. And you can just take your pencil with a super sharp point and just gently do some like thin stroke marks. Like that, just to create that little bit of texture in there. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you could stop at the Gamsol. But that definitely, can you see that? How that just creates a little bit more interest, a little bit more texture. And if it's too much, you didn't like it, you're like, ugh, you know, I don't think that I like that all that much. Then you can always go back with your Gamsol and you can soften it. You can just soften those lines a little bit with the Gamsol. See how they just soften up a little bit? They get a little softer because they're just a waxy pencil. So anywhere that you have that, they'll just soften the line a bit. Okay, so that's another technique. Okay, now my final stencil technique, I'm going to zoom back out again because, whoa, we are close up there, is a fun one that you can do, and you can do this with whatever you have. You don't have to use what I'm using to do it, but I'm going to just trim this down a little bit here. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here. And I am going to find the stencil that I wanted to use for this. Did I put that away somewhere? Okay, here it is. Brienne, tell me what this is called. I think it's called Scattered Hearts, this stencil. This is one of our newer heart stencils. And I'm going to just put this right onto my little grit mat. And then I'm going to take a brush, a pink blending brush, and some bright passionate pink, and I'm going to do what's called partial stenciling. All right, so you don't have to fill everything in. You can go from one side to the other side just like this. You can do just a little thing going across. Doesn't have to be perfect, all right? And then when you take that off, It just looks like that. So it kind of like fades in, right? So that's partial stenciling, but we're not done. So I'm going to clean this stencil just so that I can see what I'm doing here. And then I'm cleaning it with alcohol. I'm going to give it a minute. And again, this is Passionate Pink ink. I'll put this away. I'm going to give it just a second to dry. Put my blending brushes away. Okay, that should be good. And this should be good. I got to find that spot that I was at. I might have even turned it over. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to put this back down on here. And then I'm going to take one of our iridescent gel pens. So it could be any color you want. It could be a color that's close. If you don't have one of these, you could use your Sakura Jelly Roll pen. That would work too. I'll kind of mix them here. So I'm just going to start the Jelly Roll. And let's see what color this one is. Ooh, that's bright and fun. Okay. Let me look at the pink too. There's a lot of colors in here that would work. You could use whatever color you want. That's fun too, but I think I'll use this purplier one. And then what I'm going to do here is I am going to just outline the heart using that glitter pen. Just like that. Add a little something in there. And you don't have to do all of them. You could just do some of them. But it gives you just such a fun, funky little look. Now, I'll do a couple with the Sakura pen, just to show you the difference. I don't even know if this one's going to show up on the camera. It's just like a transparent glitter. But you might have some sparkle gel pens. You might have some just regular gel pens that aren't sparkly at all, and they would look really cool too. You could just find a complementary color. I'm just doing a couple of these in the Sakura one. I don't know if you're going to be able to see those. We'll do more in this color. I love this. I think this is just super fun. Did I do? No, I didn't do this one. And as long as you like kind of push the pen along the side of the stencil, it really helps you stay in the lines. And it makes it pretty easy to go around. You can kind of go pretty fast too, like once you get the hang of it. So let's just take this off so that you can see what some of these look like. But this just is a fun accent. And you can do it with other things in your collection. So let's say you have stars. You know, stars would be really fun to do in blues. I don't know that you're going to be able to see that Sakura one at all. But you can really see how this just makes everything stand out. And even if you have like a little mistake like that, it's not the end of the world. They're still cute. Let me just pull this off and you can see what it looks like. It just makes everything pop a little bit more. And I don't know if you can catch the sparkle in this, but maybe you can. There's a little bit of a sheen in that I think you can catch. But these pens, when you see them up close, especially if you get them in the right kind of light, oh, they're so pretty. And that's just a fun little way to add a little something extra, kind of accents the hearts. This one was in the Sakura one, so it looks a little lighter in this one too. But the ones that I did with the pink are really popping. I feel like it makes everything pop, right? It's fun. So, what did we go over today? We did, put my glasses on. We did, oh, we have so many bits and pieces here. So, we did this here. This is our outlining with a glitter pen technique. We did foiling on one layer of layered stencils. We did glitz or glitter paste on one of the layers. We added a little Gamsol with colored pencils. We talked about how to extend a stencil that's too small for your design. We did some reverse stenciling. And then I showed you how easy it was to line up stencils in two different ways, one using your MISTI and one using some washi tape. And then, of course, we did the double stencil technique, and we added some foliage from another stencil because we're just crazy like that. So look at all those fun techniques. Aren't you guys just dying to get your stencils out and try some of these? This was super fun. I love doing this with you guys, and I hope that you did too. Well, if you liked today's video, and I sure hope that you have, if you wouldn't mind giving it a thumbs up, it really does help our channel. It gets this video out to other people that are trying to learn card making, stenciling techniques, and we sure would appreciate it. And then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss another video. If you aren't on our Facebook group, we would love to have you over there. We just broke 49,000 members, and when we get to 50,000, we're going to be doing a big celebration with lots of giveaways, and we'd love you to be part of the fun. It's a great place to share your Gina K Designs projects and also get inspiration from other members on how to use your different stamps, stencils, and dies and embossing folders from Gina K Designs. It's called Gina K Designs and Stamp TV Friends, so check it out. Join the group, answer the security questions. Also, don't forget to agree to the rules because we try to keep out those spammers, and we would love to have you. And then, Brianne Loveland, thank you so much for linking everything for everybody. I know how much of a help that is to people, but if you missed any of the links, you can find everything I used today on our website at GinaKDesigns.com. Now it's time to give away a gift card. So we're going to give a $15 gift card to one lucky winner, and Tom is going to take over and announce that winner. Are you ready?
Drummer! Today's winner is Gina Carroll. Gina Carroll!
Yay, Gina! From one Gina to another. Congratulations. You are the winner. All you have to do is send your name and email address to info@GinaKDesigns.com, and we will get that gift card emailed out to you. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was super fun. I have a surprise for you on Thursday. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it is a surprise, and you're going to love it. So I hope that you will join us Thursday at noon Central Time. It's a big surprise. So make sure you join us because it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, everybody. In the meantime, until Thursday, stay safe and healthy. We love you all so very much, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.